All right. Welcome in. How's everybody doing? Happy Jocktober to everyone in Braves country. If you don't know what that means, then you shouldn't be asking. Jock Peterson has 9 RBIs, the most in the National League. The Bravos are playing right now. They are up 5-0 on the Dodgers.
Yes.
We're going to have to hold your breath, though, on the finish after last night. So, But this is not Atlanta Braves After Dark. This is actually SEC After Dark. We got a great show lined up. Joining me is Stephen Willis, Jeb Beecham. What's up, gentlemen?
Pretty good. I'm starting to feel a cramp come up, and every time Jeb starts talking and whatever he's going to do, I might be a little bit injured, and we might have to stop it. But don't worry about it. It's only going to interrupt all the flow of his offense.
Well, we got the magic spray, right, Jeb?
I'm surrounded by stuff to throw, so you better watch that.
Yeah, get all the mustard away from Jeb, please.
Oh, yeah, Frenches and golf balls. That's what he does.
That's what Tennessee does. Yeah. What's up, Jake? What's up, Cassidy? How are y'all doing? The Thomas family. If you look over my shoulder here, not that shoulder, but this shoulder, you see I got some new knickknacks here. I got a Georgia clock. I got Notorious B.I.G. figurine. I got a baseball sign by John Smoltz. My first ever shoe that is bronzed. That was the first shoe I ever wore in my life. I got a Sugar Bowl watch case, and of course my picture above there. So I moved some things around in this office, in this studio. So
is that from when Bevo tried to kill Uga?
Yep. I need a picture of that. I need to put it like right up here, like right over here somewhere. You know.
Yeah, probably whatever that green thing is behind you. You should probably replace that.
No, that tells you how many miles from my house Sanford Stadium is.
Oh, okay.
If you see it, I'm gonna move my head out of the way. It says 325 miles.
Okay.
So, not too far. So yeah, we got we've got a interesting slate here. We're going to talk about our favorite video game, Trash Bandicoot. We got a Week 8 preview. Emphasis on week.
I didn't spell weak as in WEAK.
Yeah, it's a double entendre.
Yeah,
that's what we call it in the education world, is a double entendre. And then of course we're going to do our picks. We might pick some like bonus games here, just to make things interesting. So the chat is blazing. As always, John Smoltz is a Braves legend. As he was, I'll tell you how spoiled I am as a Braves fan. My first ever Braves game was a World Series game in 1991. I was in first grade. I didn't know that the Braves sucked at that time. Or that whole worst to first thing was like, hey, we're worst to first. Okay. Yeah. You know, we had a big celebration at school, and I wasn't really sure why. There you go. So you guys are drinking, what you drinking on there, Steve?
Coors Light, riding the bullet.
You got Coors Light here.
Mm-hmm.
Jeb, what are you throwing? What are you throwing?
Mine's a little different. It's Modelo. We're just going to call it amber because the actual word they use doesn't sound good coming out of a southern accent.
Amber is the color of your energy.
There you go.
Name that band.
Also, before we get started tonight, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, or Greg Maddux. Which one's Mr. Brave?
Who? Okay, give me him.
John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, or Greg Maddux. Which one is Mr. Brave?
Maddux, all the way.
Greg Maddux, yeah.
Okay.
Mad Dog, all the way. They were all imports.
Yeah.
So none of them came up through the system. You know, Smoltz was traded to us from Detroit. He actually sucked for a little while. Maddux is that dude, man. Maddux could tell you exactly where he was pitching it, and you couldn't hit it.
Yeah, whenever he was good, whenever he played for the Cubs, I don't know why they got rid of him.
Couldn't pay him.
Yeah,
because the Cubs were horrendous at that time.
Yeah. Y'all believe me, I know. I am well aware. That is right about the time that I think with that second strike just ran me out of Major League Baseball.
Yeah. The 94 strike. I was in elementary school. I was devastated. Then the Braves came back and won the World Series, and I was okay again.
Then McGuire. I got into it was.
Then baseball said, we need fans again, so we're going to start letting you guys take steroids.
And 9 million home runs got hit. And I got a little bit interested again, and then it went away after they stood on Capitol Hill and Sammy Sosa did his interviews all season in English, but he got on Capitol Hill and no habla inglés.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on, buddy.
But the greatest part is like they were like, yeah, guys, take steroids. We need fans. And then, shame on you. You know, the kind of double-edged sword there, the double standard. Oh boy, Snit and his bench coach are getting into it. Oh boy.
Also, one thing I've discovered tonight before we get started, we can do a little bit of Sunbelt after dark, is I'm a closet Coastal Carolina fan. I like the way they play. I'm a huge Jamie Chadwell guy.
I'm not a closet Coastal Carolina fan. I've made it well known. I love Coastal Carolina. The blue turf, baby. The teal turf, baby.
The teal turf.
I love watching them play, man. They are. If Jamie Chadwell ever leaves there, that'll be a shame.
Appalachian State up 21-20 in the third quarter.
That's an exciting game. Braves up 5-0. Drew Smiley's on the mound. He's going more innings than he's ever gone ever. So yeah, they're a fun team to watch. But let's get into it. Trash Bandicoot. Steve, don't get injured. All right. Don't get injured. Okay, Jeb's winding up. All right. So, you know, outside of the fake injuries and the raining of trash and golf balls, Neyland driving range, Neyland Stadium, what stood out to me about this game was that Ole Miss struggled a little bit with the crowd noise. This is probably the loudest environment that they've
in a
been
couple
in.
of years in the SEC.
Yeah, this is...
Props to Tennessee for getting up the way they did because that place was rocking. That was like legitimately just something you would not expect. And Ole Miss normally loses that game. We went down to Tiger Stadium in 2014 undefeated and walked out of there a 10-7 loser. Just the weirdest game ever.
Because it's Death Valley on a Saturday night. You know, atmosphere in this league plays a huge role. In Tennessee got that boost. Auburn got a slight boost a couple weeks ago against Georgia, did some good things, but ultimately in the end Georgia kind of dominated that one. But as far as Tennessee goes, I don't know what more we need to see from Hendon Hooker to know that he is the guy for Tennessee. Joe Milton was the only one in the stadium that didn't throw anything.
The PA announcer said, "Stop throwing things on the field." That was actually said. Although if Joe Milton threw the ball, it probably wasn't going to land on the field. But that's another point altogether.
Yeah, that has to make it on. Come on, man.
That's one of the worst plays I've ever seen.
That was with no
time.
time.
He was trying to preserve clock. There was 3 seconds on the clock when he snapped the ball. There was no more time.
Yeah, just fire it in the end zone. Who cares?
Yeah.
The sack fumble. Return for a touchdown that was not called. Where do we stand on that?
Half of Tennessee's defense and half of Ole Miss's offense did not keep playing, including Matt Corral. He just stood there. It was fourth down. They obviously heard a whistle. I think what happened was, and I'm not justifying what happening, but the officials found a way to get to the right call because there was an inadvertent whistle on that play. There was a whistle blown on that play. But it wasn't blown dead after the fact. So they had to get back, and it was like, forward progress stopped? I don't know. And
that was a tough one to review.
Yeah, and they're sitting there doing all these things, and it's like they got to the right thing, but they basically essentially made up something to get there.
Maybe if they were making something up. But other than that, you can't say that was the right call. They just touched it. If you say that is forward progress, pretty much every sack can be nullified.
No. I'm saying there was an inadvertent whistle.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Maybe they found a way to make it up. And that's the only thing you can say. You can't say from what we saw on the field that was correct.
There was enough evidence to have a slightly plausible argument for forward progress. I agree with Jeb. It was not. But they got away with one. On a technicality, on the fact that there was no good angle, there was no good way to review that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially that crew is horrendous.
yeah.
Yeah, that crew's awful.
I think it was like Mark Curls.
I hate.
And
Well, you get
yeah,
Mark Curls, you better just buckle up, man. There's
yeah,
going to be there's
and,
going to be blown
yeah, and
calls all
They
over the
love
place.
negating touchdowns.
yeah,
That's
and
for
I
sure.
think that atmosphere affected that crew in like a really weird way. Not necessarily for Tennessee or against them, but it seemed to affect the officials in that game even more so than usual. It was bizarre.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get stuff rained down on you. Yeah, you're gonna you're gonna call things in favor of the home
Oh,
team.
I'm talking about even before that happened. They weren't calling stuff in favor of the Holton team. They were missing calls. They were equally inconsistent on both sides of the ball.
They were just they were
they
just
were, they were
shit.
terrible. Yeah.
But at least they're not Pac-12 officials.
Yes.
That's
a good
the benchmark of awful officiating is the Pac-12.
Or the Big Ten, where they called like five targeting calls in the Ole Miss Louisville game this year.
Can we talk about targeting for a minute? Like,
Sure.
I'm so sick and tired. And this goes into Trash Bandicoot because this is a Trash Bandicoot rule. The targeting, we've got to figure something out. Yes, I'm glad that they took initiative to take headshots out of the game. Yes, okay. Let's start there. Bravo to that. However, you cannot just stop and say any shot to the head is targeting and you're ejected. Like, I love the way the NBA does it with their flagrant fouls. And there is the 15-yard. There should be a 15-yard, and then there should be the flagrant 2 where, yeah, you gone. You gone, big boy. That was targeting. You know,
I agree with that, and I also agree with the thread Jake Thomas talking about pass interference calls on uncatchable balls. If they're going to call, if they are going to call intentional grounding by just assuming the intent was to throw it away, even if there's an eligible receiver, they called intentional grounding on Matt Corral, and he threw it over the head of 3 Ole Miss players on the sideline. Now Matt Corral was throwing away, but that was not intentional grounding. And if they're going to do that, they can't call pass interference on balls that land out of bounds. If it can't be catch, you can't call that, no matter what happens.
yeah, I mean, the guy could completely mug him, but if the ball's 30 feet in the air, he wasn't going to catch it anyway. So, I mean, it's a moot point. I mean, you could probably get away with a hold. You could probably call a hold on some of those things, but, and downgrade it instead of a pass interference, which is just such a – the pass interference calls this year, I feel like they've gotten way worse. And it's been like it's getting to the point where these SEC officials on any pass that's defended, any catch that's contested that's incomplete is a pass interference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It does feel like it's kind of like holding. You can find a reason to call it on almost every play if you want to. Almost every passing play, anyway.
Yeah,
And they do seem to do it. Yeah.
There was a beautiful no call. I will give the refs credit here. There was a beautiful no call in the Georgia-Kentucky game where both players were kind of jarring. Both players kind of shoved each other, and they were being physical all the way down the field and with the ball in the air. And the ref just swallowed his whistle in that scenario, and it was a good no call. Because I think I mean, it would have been offsetting because both guys were jostling. So, the pass interference calls have got to be cleaned up. That's just, But yeah, that's the player ejection part's got to be removed. I think that's got to be saved for like I said, Stacy. That's got to be saved for the special occasions where you do have a guy that launches. Like if you launch, tuck your arms and go. Yeah, you probably should be ejected.
No,
Chuck Ceciling it? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with you there on it being flagrant because it does seem like it disadvantages certain people too. I mean, if you're a slightly smaller defender and you come at somebody and try and hit them in the chest, the top of your head may hit their chin. I mean, if you're just the wrong size. If you're a big guy and you're jumping at somebody and you take a bad angle, I mean, sometimes you can't really stop your momentum or change. Some of these big guys will hurt themselves trying to do that. I like that. If it's obviously flagrant and you can tell they were just launching with their head straight into them, that's one thing.
And I don't mind the replay. I don't mind them throwing the flag for targeting and then replaying it. I don't mind that.
That's fine.
But you either go no call, 15-yard personal, like basically 15-yard personal foul, almost like a yellow card, and then the red card. Like, man, that was egregious. Like, he ducked his head, crown of his helmet. He led. He was trying his intent. Like, you can tell the intent.
There's Chuck Cecil right there.
Yeah,
That guy would have been kicked out of every game he played in if
Yeah.
it was today.
I saw.
Greg
I did
Blue
see that
too.
on one play where a defender was trying to hit the quarterback. The quarterback was just like a foot taller than him, and he wrapped him right up on the chest and hit him, but the top of his helmet could get that face mask just because his height difference. And they called that, and then I remember thinking, "That's just not right."
Yeah,
you're telling this guy he just can't tackle.
The flagrant ones are rarely occur. I would say rarely. Like, there was one, I think, on Smoke Monday in the Georgia game that probably would have been flagrant because he dipped his head and raised it up, kind of like a ram. Like, that one would have been, but a lot of them, like, they replay it and you got the shoulder to the chest and the head just grazes the side of the helmet.
Exactly.
Like you can't get kicked out of the game for that. I mean, that's ridiculous. But that's my soapbox.
Yeah,
and Stacey's right. In her comment about the pass interference, half the time I don't understand why we don't just throw the ball downfield every play. You're going to get pass interference every now and then and move that ball.
I mean, Clemson scored their first 3 points against Georgia on pass interference. They got 3 pass interference calls.
Wasn't that their only 3 points?
It was their only 3 points, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they got down the field on pass interference. Their first and only, I should say. The Bears got their first touchdown against the Packers. They had 3 runs and a pass interference. They got them to the 2-yard line. They punched it in. Like, in the NFL, it's a spot foul. Like,
yeah. I think NFL's pass interference is a strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, in the NFL, there's like the old Woody Hayes thing.
Yeah.
If you throw the ball, only 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad.
Yeah.
Now it's completely flipped. You can catch it, you can get interference, or it's the odds have definitely moved in
increased. Yeah. So, ball carrier can be a battering ram. Yeah, I get that. Like, you get somebody that lowers their shoulder and just runs through somebody. Like, come on, call it both ways too. So,
and they're supposed to be cracking down on that, aren't they?
Yeah, Derrick Henry's like the anti-targeting.
Supposed to be.
With his hands.
Yeah.
Just slap him out of the way.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's he's an alien. I think I'm convinced. He's not of this planet. So if you're one of those that don't believe in extraterrestrial life, watch a Titans game. You'll see Derrick Henry. He's not of this world.
Yeah, good agree.
So a couple other things. Let's take a moment. Let's laugh at Florida.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Let's laugh at Florida.
Okay. Do y'all realize that Dan Mullen is 2-6 in his last 8 games against Power 5 opponents?
I do, and somehow some Bears after dark. Somehow Todd Grantham. I'm just curious to know what he has on Dan Mullen at this point, because that defense is atrocious. Like, I don't think. He's been a defensive coordinator for 11 years now in college, and I still don't think he's read his entire playbook yet.
Yeah,
or understands it. I mean, it's seriously an encyclopedia.
Do you know whenever this is more Major League Baseball after dark, but that player that inevitably starts the season like JT Snow did when he came out, 25 years ago, and it was like 10 home runs in 11 games. Then all of a sudden the book gets out on that player and the home runs stop. That's kind of what's happening to Florida's defense right now. Everybody knows how to attack it.
Yeah. Like every rookie quarterback that washes out, like half the rookie quarterbacks in every draft that get in there and play, and they play a season or they play 6 games and like, oh man, we can't stop them, and then all of a sudden you figure them out, and next thing you know, 2 years later they're not starting anymore. Yeah, he's in way over his head. The players don't buy it. The players are just like, whatever. They hate his system. They think it sucks. He's a complete asshat, and he just belittles his players and all that stuff. I mean, he's just not He's just not fit for college. I mean, he's probably a pretty good coach, but you give him the title of coordinator, I just don't think he can handle it because he wants to try to do too much.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And the whole thing with Florida's defense and his defense is to keep you to where that safeties can play real close to the line of scrimmage. So everybody just started attacking deep, and Florida has no answer for that. And now, after what LSU did to them, they couldn't run the ball for 2 years, and then Florida couldn't stop a counterplay, couldn't stop a power play. Oh,
They got the rushing record broke on them.
yeah, it was against us. It was
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette against us in like 2016.
Thank God for Dan Mullen. So I mean, it just like how ridiculous is that, man? Your defense is literally built. You bring your safeties down to the box and you blitz like crazy to stop the run, and you can't stop the run. Like, what do you got left?
When you know it's coming in the B gap on either side. That's all they're doing. Pick a B gap, attack it, make sure that's taken care of, and you're going to probably be all right because of how simple it was they were doing. The LSU team started out very complex with what they were doing. And then as the game went on, they were like, hey, this is working and they're not going to stop it, so let's just keep running it. Mm-hmm. And they did over and over again. And that kid had 290 yards. It was ridiculous. Ty Davis-Price is not that good.
No. And if they didn't, if they really wanted to get him 3 bones, they could have easily gotten it. And he got some stuff called back too, I think, if I remember correctly. LSU had 2 big touchdowns called back on holding calls, which were completely earned. They earned those holding calls. Those were definitely good calls. Those were easy. Those were easy to make calls. Like, dude just yanked him down by the jersey. Yeah, they didn't have Keyshawn Boutte. Wow. Yeah, I don't know that Mullen's going to be in the NFL, Jake. I don't like. There's no way.
Yeah, that window's closing rapidly.
Yeah, that window's shut tightly. If he didn't get in the NFL, if he didn't get in the NFL this year, that was his only chance. He can get in the NFL as like a quarterbacks coach, maybe, for the Jets or the Jaguars, Get with his old buddy Urban. They go bar hopping together. He can really get under center.
I think there's a chance. Now, I have no information on this whatsoever, but I think there's a chance he tries to make a play for the USC job.
Oh God, please let that happen. That would be hilarious.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm USC and I just watched that LSU game, ain't no way in hell I'm touching him. No way in hell.
Now let's remember about USC. USC is the most
I would welcome back Kiffin.
Talked about program for 45 years of mediocrity in the history of college football. And that's because of Pete Carroll's 5 years. But essentially, the rest of them are been very mediocre, like 7-5, 8-4 seasons. So
yeah, and
that's
I still
one bad coaching. Yeah, that's one bad coaching hire after another. They hired John Robinson twice.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. But I didn't say Dan Mullen was going to get that job. I think he was going to try to get that job.
Oh, yeah, he's going to try.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If I'm USC, I'm not touching him with a 10-foot pole. I'm taking everybody on the West Coast before I take Dan Mullen. Like, Dan Mullen, I'm not sold whatsoever. That dude's a weirdo. He doesn't have good judgment, obviously. Because he's got a defensive coordinator that just is in way over his head. And it's very obvious. Very, very obvious. And I don't usually talk this way about coaches because I am a coach myself. And, you try to have a little compassion for how hard that job actually is. But Todd Grantham is a position coach. There's nothing wrong with that, but he is a position coach. And as soon as Dan Mullen realizes that, or as soon as somebody else realizes that, maybe he just needs to go back to the NFL, be a circulating D-line coach, like he was with the Cowboys before he entered the college circuit at Georgia. So, maybe he just needs to go back to the NFL, coach D-line, make a good living, Be the best D line coach you can possibly be, right?
Yeah.
Grantham, I think Grantham is a good dude, but I think his coaching and his coaching style and things like that, it's just not vibing at Florida anymore. And you just got to know when enough is enough. That's my thought on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not working. It's absolutely not working. And like I said, 2-6 in the last 8 games against Power 5. I think they have a worse record than LSU over the last 10. Ed Orgeron just got fired. Ed Orgeron beat him twice.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
it's
don't
a
fire.
horrible look.
Just don't fire Grantham yet. Fire him after the Georgia game. Won't fire him yet. But yeah, I mean, it's baffling to me. Baffling. Like, yeah, I get it. Dan Mullen's done some good things, but no, maybe Dan Mullen's ceiling as a head coach was Mississippi State. Somebody's going to get you competitive, make bowl games, ultimately do the right thing. But when you're in a pressure cooker like the University of Florida, like you can't, like to say a lot of the stuff that he says, to condescend the media, to I don't know what reality he's living in, but like you can't do that. Like there was only one person that was able to get away with talking that way to the media, and his name was Steve Spurrier. He won a Heisman and a national championship.
Yeah.
At the University of Florida. Like there's only one person allowed to do that in Gainesville, and that's Steve Spurrier. So, and guess
And
what?
he does.
And he does.
Yeah.
He does still. I used to hate him before I realized just how genius it was.
Mm-hmm.
What he was doing. I used to be like, God, what an arrogant prick, Like I was so because I grew up liking Florida State. I grew up a Florida State fan. My dad played there, so I grew up watching them. Warwick Dunn was my favorite Seminole that I watched. Obviously, Deion Sanders is my favorite Seminole, but the one that I actually was able to watch and remember is Warwick
Coach
Dunn,
Sanders.
Coach Prime, baby.
Yeah.
Maybe Coach Prime will be the next coach at LSU. How about
I does, but that'd be a hard sell for those cages. That'd be a hard sell.
Oh, it would be. It'd be awesome though, man. I would be so happy for Coach Prime. He's doing it the right way, man. So yeah, Florida, man, it's a train wreck. But speaking of two teams that I'm thoroughly impressed with, and even in a loss, and even in a dominating loss, I'm resold on Kentucky. Like they are a team that was a mess offensively for the first 4 or 5 games of the season, right? They couldn't take care of the ball, didn't really have an identity, couldn't really tell. Like it seemed like Cohen was in the Todd Grantham boat of just being overwhelmed and not really knowing. But it seems like he's learning. Like the last few games that I've watched of Kentucky and that I've seen of him, like the sequencing of plays that he calls is a lot better. It's a lot more in tune. They had one really, really beautiful drive against Georgia in the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like play after play after play. It was just everything was just set up so perfectly. And then that play call to score the touchdown was brilliant. But Kentucky got into what a lot of teams get into against Georgia is when you only rush for 51 yards and your quarterback's under duress just about every time he drops back. All you got left is screens. And once Georgia figured out how to snuff out their screens, they were cooked. And to be honest, like you could say, oh, Kentucky's offense, they weren't what we thought they were. They're good. Their play calls are great. Georgia's defense is unreal nasty this year. Like this is probably one of the nastiest defenses in the modern era of college football.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I don't think it was near as much about Kentucky's offense.
It wasn't about it all about Kentucky's offense.
It's just Georgia. I mean, you just can't attack them anywhere. It just doesn't make sense. Even when you find something that works, it's going to work for one drive, and that's it. And then you're done.
The play of the game, Steve, was, as I enjoy my Oreo cookie, like actual baked Oreo cookie dough. Instead of a cocktail, I'm enjoying a sweet treat. The play of the game, I think, I just kind of told you exactly where this defense is. Was third quarter. Kentucky has it first and goal from the 10. They run a run play. Obviously, I get stuff. for half a yard gain. So they have second goal from about the 9.5. Play action screen. I mean, set it up beautifully. Georgia's defense bit. All that was left was a corner and N'Kobe Dean versus a receiver and 3 offensive linemen. What does N'Kobe Dean do? He runs under all 3 linemen, turns on a dime, and tackles that thing for no gain.
Yeah, I remember that play.
I sat there and I saw that play. I'm like, yep, that's gonna about do it for me. Yep, we're not giving up any more points this year. That was freaking nasty. It's like Jesus.
Speaking of not giving up any points this year for Georgia, Dan Mullen will not name a starter for the Georgia-Florida game. It just popped on the bottom line.
Name Anthony Richardson the starter, and let's be done with it. Dan, what are you doing?
We've been saying AR-15 on this show for 4 weeks at this point.
AR-15 should have been starter day 1, man. Emory Jones is not it. It's not it. I don't know what more you need to see from that. Emory Jones, Joe Milton. What do they have in common? They ain't it. Yeah, Joe Milton needs to transfer again to Buffalo, somewhere like that. Like kind of what DeJuan Mathis did, transferred to Temple. Now he's actually doing pretty good as a starter at Temple. Emory Jones needs to go to like Southern Miss, who just joined they just joined the Fun Belt.
Yeah, they just joined the Fun Belt, along with Marshall, apparently.
Yeah, and apparently MTSU is circling something.
I think that's
they have to.
Think about Coach Hop right now. He did not stick with Milton, like we did with Garantano.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know how Florida feels right now.
Like, come on. Like, Tennessee they recognized it real soon. They said, Hooker's our guy. They realized that in the Pitt game. Hooker's our guy.
Coastal and Appy State is 27-27 in the fourth quarter, 10 minutes to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a good football. It's been a real good football game.
The Braves are playing bullpen baseball now. They're trying to lose this one. It's 5-2 again. That's kind of like the dreaded 2-0 in soccer.
Yes.
But Minter's in the game. He was dialed in last night. So yeah, Florida needs to name a starter. Come on, man, name a starter. What are you doing?
Can we talk about how Missouri has the worst run defense I've ever seen, and I'm an Ole Miss fan?
Yeah. They're
they do.
bad.
Yeah, at one point in time in the first quarter of this week's game, Texas A&M had 150 yards rushing on 10 carries. And they weren't doing that off of a huge run. They were doing that off of a consistent 10 to 15 yard average.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I know Isaiah Spiller's really good. I'm a big Isaiah Spiller fan. He's about the only elite player besides that defensive line. He's about him and that defensive line are about the only elite players that Texas A&M has. Dude can run, but come on, man. You're an SEC ball club. You can't be giving up 15 yards a carry.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, man. But they did just get a big 5-star wide receiver to help them with their run defense.
Yeah, he's from East St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean that's slam dunk, right?
Yeah.
Georgia fans are mad about that one because apparently he tossed a Georgia hat. Boo hoo.
Oh, it's like, come on, guys.
Who cares? It's all a game. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Like the timeout that Mark Stoops. A lot of Georgia fans. I don't want to say a lot. I don't speak for a lot, but there's some people that are up in arms about that. I'm like, really? And they asked Kirby about it. He basically was just like, come on, man, really? Like you wasted your question on that. No, I'm not mad about that. Shit, every coach in America would have done that.
Lane Kiffin called 3 timeouts at the end of the first half. Just to ice the kicker.
Yeah, that was just to troll the Tennessee fans. That helped the end of the game happening. Doing something like that. But also,
built up to that.
By the way, we're on the Believe in Kentucky Facebook page. this week.
Hey,
And
welcome
the
in.
Vinny Hardy Twitter page. So if you are watching right now from those sites, welcome to the show the first time coming. And I'm sure we'll pick up more shows or more channels as this goes.
Yeah, and Vinny's great people, man. He was on our Believe in Dog show last week with Israel and I, man. Dude is just top notch, man. When it comes to Kentucky football and Kentucky basketball, he does a great job over there. So glad we could share some airwaves with him. But yeah, Kentucky, man, I was sold on them, then I wasn't, and now I'm resold on them. Like that's been my progression on Kentucky. Like
Yeah.
I'm sold on Kentucky now. I think they're heading in the right direction. Levis is a baller, dude. That dude takes shots and shots and shots and gets up and does it again. That dude, that's a gamer right there. That's a ball player right there, man. I was really impressed by him. But
Week 9, we should get a guest in week 9 for the show. We should have a fourth.
okay,
Come on here for
let's
week
work on
9.
it.
Yeah.
Let's work on it. Yeah. Who do you want? We'll talk about it off here.
I don't know. Yeah. We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out.
I'll take. Hey, Paul. First time, long time, Paul.
Heck, we might invite our associate producer on here.
Oh yeah, come on, Jake.
Yeah.
We'll have Jake and Cassie, and just we'll call it marriage therapy, and we'll just back away, and we'll just let them argue.
You just let them argue.
Yeah.
It's like what is going on?
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. What a player at Father Ryan. He's a quarterback. I don't know if he's playing yet, but he's a quarterback at App State. Jake said he's down. Yeah, of course you are. Jake said, "Oh my god," and a laughing emoji. So
that'll be after the Tennessee Alabama game. Let's not have Jake on.
yeah, so shall we talk about week 8?
Yes, WEAK 8.
Yeah, week.
Yeah, I thought you
Week
misspelled your
sauce.
text message and did a normal
No,
week 8 preview. No,
No,
it was intentional.
That was intentional.
Yeah.
That was intentional. So we'll start week 8 with. Where do we want to start? Ole Miss, LSU.
Yeah, we can. Best game first.
Yeah, let's start there. All right, Ole Miss, LSU. Obviously coming into this game, LSU is on a little bit of a hot streak after beating Florida. They're feeling pretty good about themselves. They got Coach O as an interim coach again. This time he's an interim for himself, which is kind of weird. So I wonder if he can get the interim tag shaken again. No,
I don't know.
not.
Interim ed is the best ed.
Yeah.
The most successful ed is
Yeah,
interim
it
ed. So I'm upset that Ole Miss has to see interim ed. But before the Kentucky game, apparently that he learned a pretty hard lesson, and that is him throwing a chair and doing some of his antics that he is known that they have kept under wraps while he was down in Baton Rouge. Since they decided to fire him, which they decided that before the Kentucky game. No,
Yeah.
before the Florida game. The reporters are no longer going to protect him. So if he acts out, everybody's going to know about it, and all the same problems that people know about with Ed Orgeron are happening.
Yeah.
The same stuff that is happening now happened back whenever I worked for him. He hasn't learned a single thing. And the thing we learned most of all is 2019 went to his head.
It did, and he I don't know what he was thinking with the Bo Pelini hire, but yeah, I mean Ed O, this whole decision, unfortunately for him, had nothing to do with his on-field performance. They would have fired him just on the grounds of everything he did off the field, like hitting on boosters' wives and inviting his mistress and her kids to practice and having them invade the facility and the academic scandal stuff that was going on.
Miles Brennan said on Twitter, I will say this, Miles Brennan said that has never happened, not once, as far as him bringing mistresses and things to practice. I don't know who I believe, but I do think we need to point that out, because I think Miles would say nothing if it wasn't true. I don't think
Right,
there's
that's true.
any main love. So
That's true, but it's pretty funny to think about his 20-year-old sorority girlfriend doing quarterback drills.
Yeah,
Like
seriously.
that's just still funny to envision, even though it didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, just all of his transgressions, just the way he is in general, and the fact that they're coming off all this Les Miles drama, like none of that helped him
Yeah.
whatsoever. And then going 8-8 since winning the national championship and losing in the way that he's lost his 8 games is not good either. Like if you're LSU, you don't get blown out by Kentucky. I'm sorry, you don't get blown out by Kentucky. Kentucky is a team that is not in that stratosphere yet as far as brand recognition. Now, they're very easily on a trajectory for that. Speaking of Kentucky, but they're not there yet. Like they're not a team like if they blow you out, you're like, what's Kentucky? Like, yeah, they're pretty good. Right now, it's damn, Kentucky blew us out. Man, jeez, we got to reevaluate everything.
Is Kentucky at Tennessee?
I'm not sure.
Jeb?
I don't remember. Hold on.
Jeb, do some research. But Matt Corral seems questionable, right?
No, that's Lane being Lane. He's
Tennessee
not
being Lane?
questionable. Yeah, it's at Kentucky.
Yeah.
That's a game that that is Kentucky's chance for a loss.
But if Kentucky wants to prove that they're a team to be reckoned with, they blow Tennessee out.
Yeah, look at the schedule. It's probably the only one left.
But Kentucky being Kentucky is got to happen at some point this season.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
they're
usually happens against Tennessee.
Yeah, and that game, they beat Kentucky. They climbed over the Atlantic. Will beat Florida before Kentucky does. Hill again. Tennessee is their offering now. I don't want to say it. I mean, but they still have Vandy on their schedule.
That's a win.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Vandy played well this week against a bad team.
Vandy's worst case scenario right now is 10-2, I think.
Kentucky, not Vandy.
Kentucky. Did I say Vandy?
Yeah, you said Vandy.
Which is awesome.
Vandy's worst case is definitely not 10-2.
SEC After Dark's credibility shot. Gone.
Done. Yeah, Ken Seals fan club right here, baby. No. Wow.
No, it blows my mind that Kentucky may finish this season with one loss. It's Mark Stoops. They need to lock him in long term. That guy's amazing.
Now, Jake, are you trying to say we're the sexiest or the sexist?
I wondered that too. It's like they both
do we hate women or are we nice to look at?
My wife would say sexist.
Probably not far off.
And as far as Hooker playing, we don't know. He has been practicing, so he's out there. But we don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to play this week.
Yeah, I like your idea of renting a high school team and sending them to Tuscaloosa so nobody gets hurt and get ready for the next week's game.
Yeah, that was my suggestion. We've had so many injuries; it's getting ridiculous.
You could rent Maryville and send them down.
Need somebody. Just give them a couple weeks.
Who's the team that still runs in Tennessee, like runs the Veer and wins state championships doing it?
That's Maryville.
Okay.
They're split back Veer.
Yeah.
De La Salle just stopped running split back Veer.
Yeah.
All I can think about, there's this guy that he's in the TNFCA Hall of Fame now. Great dude, hilarious guy. Like he's old. He's like a 7-year-old guy. Coached at Marion County for a long time, so you know he is country. He goes, every time I hear split back Veer, I always hear it in his voice. Where there was a couple of weeks when I first met him where I wasn't sure if he had teeth. Because he talked like this, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, man, split back Veer. You know, he talked like that. And I'm like, do you have teeth? I'm sitting there going, he's got to have teeth. But he doesn't have teeth. Like, I've never seen him. And all of a sudden he smiled one day. I'm like, okay, he has teeth now. But yeah, every time I hear split back Veer, I hear it in his voice with no teeth, man. We gotta run split back Veer. That's the only answer. Split back Veer.
Jake posted that he needed to lock in his Teen Bama pick. And I was like, man, just putting that out there with Cassidy reading the board, huh?
Teen Bama. Ooh. Are you watching the Tennessee Alabama game or are you watching the Miss Teen Bama pageant, Jake? Jake is in a confessional here. He's sexist and he watches the Teen
Yeah.
Bama pageant. So
Cassidy is probably handling business right now.
Cassidy is contacting her attorney. Jake, I'm at 10. We couldn't let that one slide.
Yeah.
But
Still,
Okay,
this-
it's
this still
okay,
kinda
Jake.
hurts, though.
We're not judging you.
But going back to the Ole Miss LSU game,
Oh,
I
that
expect Coach O to go back to his comfort zone, which is the USC offense from back in the day. Think Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis. They're going to try and power Ole Miss. They're going to try and run the ball. If Ole Miss can stop it, they can win relatively easily. And that is an unbelievable interception. Oh, they called it incomplete. And I expect him to do almost, I don't want to say quite well with what he wants to do, but I think that's what he's going to want to do. Matt Corral, I think John Rice Plumlee is going to have a quarterback run element. You don't want to take two off the field, obviously. He's the best player in college football. But I think he's beat up a little bit from the Tennessee game. So you want to get him fully healthy before you go down on the Plains and before he faces Auburn.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a smart move. Just get Plumlee in a little bit, run the ball, have a few gadget plays, and just kind of take some of the pressure off of Corral. For them, if they score quick, get LSU's fans out of the game. It's in Oxford.
Yeah, yes, it's
but
Eli Manning Day.
Oh yeah, that's right, Eli.
Yeah,
Day.
yeah.
Eli Manning. So they got to win that one, right?
Yeah, red end zones, Manning in the end zones, and it's no way in relation to Arch Manning being on campus.
How about Eli completely turning into a beautiful Twitter troll on his brother?
Oh, it's fantastic. Have you watched Eli's Places?
Yeah.
No, I have not yet. I need to though.
Eli's Places is just as good, if not better, than Peyton's Places.
Well, they are related, so they do.
Yeah,
have similar sense of humor.
I'm just looking at it. It's like, where did Eli get this personality?
He's always
When
had
did
it.
this happen? Yeah, but yeah, and Cooper doing stuff. So yeah, good for him.
He never had to show it because he always had Michael Strahan and like Odell Beckham, and
Yeah,
he always had like the weirdos on his team.
Eli leading the Walk of Champions, by the way, before the LSU game as well, as you can imagine.
I thought it was the little Tui guy. The little Tui. What's his name? Never mind.
Oh, SJ.
SJ. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
I thought it was SJ. I was trying to make a blindside joke, and that joke blindsided me.
I think SJ stands for Sean Jr.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well done. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty easy formula for Ole Miss. Jump on LSU early, get them out of the game, get them checked out. I mean, they're probably already checked out anyway. They just love beating Florida, but who doesn't, right? And this is a rivalry game as well. So for Ole Miss, they just have to jump on them early, get a few key stops defensively, and you're in business.
get up by 2 touchdowns. It's over. They'll quit. They'll roll over. I've seen this movie.
Yep. Yep. This is a Coach O special. Coach O, we're gonna roll over because Coach O is just like his mic is up the whole time on his headset. He just claps every once in a while.
Yep.
I don't think he ever says anything. All right, Bama, Tennessee, not the teen Bama pageant, but the actual football game that's going to be happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to talk too much about
Tuscaloosa.
the Teen Bama pageant.
Yeah, the girl from Mobile, she has a lot of cool hobbies, and she's going to win the pageant. It's going to come down to never mind. It could get ugly. Let's take care, Jake. Thanks.
Yeah, I think he's taking off on us. But
Yeah.
what really hurts about his line of questioning over here is though he's just trying to figure out if Hooker's playing to know just how badly Alabama's going to beat Tennessee. And I get it. If you're looking at the spread, If Hooker's there, maybe we cover. If he's not, there's just no chance.
Well, I mean, the way Tennessee's playing, I wouldn't shock me if they made it a tight game. I mean,
If Hooker's
Alabama's
playing,
just loaded. Yeah, if Hooker's playing, that's a tight game. If Milton's
yeah,
playing, that's a wrap.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What if Milton
Oh,
has that Calzada type game?
he won't. He won't. Let's just be honest about it.
Well, we said that Calzada wouldn't either. There was a foregone
Okay.
conclusion.
Let's pump the brakes.
I'm
there,
just saying.
Steve.
Yeah, I'm just doing devil's advocate. I'm not saying he's going to do
Calzada.
anything.
Calzada. Every other quarterback in the country, including high school quarterbacks, Joe Milton.
But at this
Like-
point, if he does, we will thank him, and then he will go back to the bench.
Thank you
Exactly.
very much, Mr. Milton.
Appalachian State got a little bit of
Stop.
karma. Got a karma play. That interception didn't get overturned into an interception, so they fumbled the very next play. Karma.
No.
The ball don't lie. So, yeah, I mean, I think for Tennessee, it's just, this is going to be a chance to, on the road in a hostile environment, work on their communication, work on their pace of play, work on, just the mechanics of their offense, and just really just getting some good solid reps, because Tennessee's not ready to win this game. Not saying that they can't. They're just not ready to win a ball game like this, because, I mean, Alabama is Alabama. Alabama's still the best team in the West. I don't care what you say. They are still the best team in the West, and they're probably still going to win the West unless something crazy happens, like Tennessee beats them. Then Ole Miss has a chance. I would be all for that. I will sacrifice my hatred for Tennessee for a week for them to deliver us a Georgia Ole Miss matchup in the SEC championship.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I
That
agree.
would be.
I think all I really want to see out of this is how Tennessee plays, because honestly, outside of the whole trash talking thing, they played really well against Ole Miss. They looked early on like they were going to kind of fall apart, especially when the injuries to the offensive line started hitting. I assumed that game was going to be over, and it didn't. They came back. They fought hard the entire game.
And Ole Miss just got out of sync.
Yeah,
Ole Miss just
and
got
it
out of
was
sync a little bit.
Ole Miss had a lot of their own issues. A lot of drop passes and that kind of thing. I understand that Ole Miss was the better team, but Tennessee played really well. I was very proud of the team and the coach. So if they can do that against Alabama, they may not win, but if they give a great game, I'll be happy. As a fan.
That noise affected Ole Miss. Genuinely affected Ole Miss.
That was the best that stadium sounded in years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly, what that sounded like to me, the memory that came back on that was Tennessee and Florida in 1997. That's what that stadium sounded like.
Yeah,
You
I
could
mean, it's
hear
just
it through
rocking.
TV, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying if Matt may have heard a whistle and we didn't, we wouldn't have heard it at home. You couldn't hear anything over that crowd.
Yeah, you couldn't hear anything.
No.
I mean, it's crazy. I've been to Neyland probably 3 times, and the
Did you go
loudest
for
it was-
Hobnail Boot?
I was not there for Hobnail. I was still in high school then. I wasn't quite. I wasn't quite the Georgia fan that I am now. That year, I went to. I enrolled in Georgia the following season, and I went in 05 and 09, and I think I went. Was it 13? No. 11. I went in 11, I think. And I mean, each year was extremely loud. The 2005 was probably the loudest I had ever heard Neyland Stadium, and Tennessee ended up losing that game, so it got really quiet later on. But early on, when DJ Shockley threw the pick 6 early in the game, that's the loudest I've ever heard any stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the whatever was beneath my feet was shaking like crazy. The only loudest stadium moment for me was in 04 when Georgia beat the brakes off of LSU in a revenge game at Sanford Stadium. That was really loud. That was the loudest I'd ever heard Sanford Stadium. It was insane. Now, obviously, there's been some louder games since Kirby's gotten there, but those were really loud games. So it does have an effect on you. Like I couldn't yell at the person that was sitting 2 inches away from me. Like they couldn't hear me. Even when I got in their ear and talked, they couldn't
Yeah.
hear me. And like it affects communication. It gets you rattled. Like you had that noise, it just immediately gets your stress levels up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If for defensive guys, you can play under those situations because you're reactive and you're more the aggressor. Offensively, you have to be like coordinated, and you have to do a little bit more thinking offensively. And so, yeah, I can see where that affects. You get guys that jump off sides because they're anticipating, or they think they hear something, or you got guys that blow assignments, things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a funny comment.
And they played Rocky Top over and over and over and over. One thing I noticed from the Ole Miss Tennessee game this time is in the middle of the Tennessee fans showering down crap and throwing everything on the field. Ole Miss's band at that point decided to start playing Forward Rebels.
Okay. Okay, but see, even with all of that, Tennessee had a chance to win that game at the end, and then Joe Milton came on the field, and the chance went away.
the chance went to -5. So yeah, I mean Tennessee. You knew it was Tennessee week on campus. You step out of class and you hear them blaring Rocky Top in the stadium, over and over and over and over again, as loud as those speakers could handle. I'm sitting in class and all I'm hearing is da 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 da.
That sounds amazing.
Woo!
Yeah, they and then they would pipe in like crowd noise, and then like every minute, every 90 seconds, Rocky Top played, and then in between was crowd noise.
Which is actually accurate for a Tennessee game.
Yeah,
Rocky Top every 90 seconds. Yeah, that's about right. Of course, that means they're doing things well. It's like Tennessee runs for 2 yards. Da, 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 da.
so it's kind of like Ohio State gives you Buckeyes for like breathing. Tennessee plays Rocky Top for breathing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that game is going to be fun. Just to kind of see where Tennessee actually is and how much down to earth that Alabama's going to send them crashing. South Carolina A&M, that's going to be a bloodbath. Mississippi State Vandy,
Zeb's
that's
dead.
going to
Zeb's dead.
Zeb's dead. Mississippi State Vandy. What do we make of this one?
I think Mississippi State has a chance to make this game closer than it needs to be. If Clark Lee is smart at all and he does his drop 8 stuff and makes it hard for State to score, I don't know that Mississippi State can win by 20 plus points. It could be like a 10 to 14 point win for Mississippi State. So,
Yeah, Vanderbilt found something that was working for him this past week against South Carolina, so I could see that. I don't know. Mississippi State has the potential, though, of putting up points fast, so it could get out of hand quickly.
yeah, do not play them straight up, Clark Lee. Play drop 8. Play it every time. It doesn't matter. Every play's a man beater. Do not play them straight up. A&M found that out.
Yes, they did. Oh, we got some other games in here to pick. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I wanted to pick 10.
There you go. There you go. Let's see. Hold on. Did we get Oklahoma in there?
We did.
Yes, we did.
And
Yes,
we got Okie
did.
State this week.
Yes, we did. I love that. Yeah, we got all of these in there. Sweet, man. I can't wait. So, shall we?
Yeah, for an Army fan, I put Army in there this week. So
Yeah, baby. We get into picks.
yeah.
All right. So we come into week 8. I come in 41-35. Jake has got one more win than I do, sitting at 42-34. Jeb 31-45. Steve 37-39. Craig comes in at 44-34. He leads the pack. actually. Craig had a really good week. He had a 7-3 week. I had an even 5-5. Um, and Steve, you had an even 5-5, and Jeb, you went 3-7. I guess no risk it, no biscuit, and I guess there's no biscuit. So LSU Ole Miss, Steve, Ole Miss -9 on Eli Manning Day. Do they cover?
Yeah, I think they do. I think this is going to be one of those games that the offense kind of jumps on them and LSU quits a little bit. This has a 31-10 type score, maybe a 42-20, something like that. But I think Ole Miss covers 9 fairly easily.
Okay, Jeb.
Eh, for me, LSU has always been, or has been the last couple seasons, the most wildly inconsistent team out there. They just had a great game. I'm betting they come back down to earth here and Ole Miss beats them pretty soundly.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it's a clean sweep for Ole Miss. Vandy, Mississippi State. Steve, Vandy is 20.5. We'll call it 21-point dogs at home. How do you see it?
Too many points. I always take Vanderbilt to cover. I don't know why I do that. That might explain my record. But I take Vandy more often than not. I think they'll handle business like they did last week.
Yeah, every time I take Vandy, I'm wrong, and then when I don't take them, I'm wrong. So I've not had a good record at all with Vandy. But this is one again. Like I was saying, I think Mississippi State could end up just exploding on points here if Vanderbilt doesn't play them right. And I'm going to take Mississippi State and say they do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Vandy here. I'm gonna take the points. Vandy's kind of impressed me a little bit. When I say a little bit, they're obviously not going 10-2, but I think when you look at how they're playing a little bit better. They're getting slightly better each week. So I'm gonna take Vandy here. Jake's gonna take Mississippi State. Tennessee at Bama. Jake's taking Auburn. Bama is 25-point favorites, and I don't even think Jake's here to defend himself.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more fun. So Bama is 25-point favorites at home. Did I say that? Yes, I did. Steve, are you buying Tennessee to cover, or are you taking?
I think Joe Milton's going to play quarterback. Everything that goes on, if that happens, Bama is 25 points better than Tennessee.
And that very well could be what's happening. I'm hoping Hooker will be back, and if he is, I think we can keep this one a little tighter than that. So I'm taking the Vols cover.
Yeah, I'm thinking regardless is probably a 28-point victory. I mean, it's just Bama. For some reason, this is like Ole Miss, Tennessee are two games that Bama really gets up for, and these games really go in their favor very quickly. Same thing happened last year. You're starting to think, okay, Tennessee's not bad, and then they're bad, and then Alabama showed you that they're bad. So I'm going to take Bama here until Bama doesn't cover a spread against Tennessee. I'm just going to take Bama regardless.
Usually say that.
And Jake's going with Bama too. Don't ever pick against Bama in the spread. All right, the Aggies at Kyle Field hosting South Carolina, and Zayab's dead, resulting in South Carolina being 21-point road dogs. Can the road dogs at least cover, or are you laying the points with the Aggies?
I think I'm going to lay the points. A&M is kind of catching their stride a little bit. I'm not a fan of South Carolina, especially offensively. I do worry that South Carolina's defense can make plays from time to time. They can stand up. So it might be a situation where a 31-10 is hard to get to. But that's just my concern on this one. But I'm taking A&M. I think they'll cover this relatively easily.
Yeah, that would end up being a push. Jeb, do you see A&M?
Oh, I think A&M covers. I think the only thing that could stop A&M from covering this week is A&M. If Calzada just has a terrible game, maybe they don't, but I don't think so. I'm taking them.
All right, yeah, it's going to be a clean sweep for me. I think the Aggies are they're too good right now. South Carolina is just not there yet. So, OU in the most ridiculous spread of the week. It's a spread against Kansas. They're at Kansas. They are 38.5-point favorites on the road. Baker Mayfield will not be there grabbing his nuts. But Caleb Williams will be there at quarterback. as Rattler enters the transfer portal and likely goes to Ole Miss. Um, but we'll take odds on that one after the season. OU, Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I like OU. I like Caleb Williams. I think 38 points is a lot of points, but this is a game that I expect to be somewhere around 51-10. But I like their Kansas offensive scheme. I think they're going in the right direction. They just need to get players in.
Yeah, this is a game. If I was still trying to find ways to win and catch up on my record here, I might take Kansas to cover. But since there's no chance of me catching up, I'm just going to go with what seems more obvious, and that's that Oklahoma is just 38 points better than Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas is in a rough spot right now. They are, when you say down, they are like Vandy level down, and Oklahoma is a completely different team with Caleb Williams in a good way. So I'm gonna take the Sooners here as well. I think that's gonna make it a clean sweep. An interesting contest pits the Cowboys of Okie State at Iowa at Ames, taking on the Cyclones. We're going a little bit outside the conference here. -7. Iowa State 7-point home favorites, which to me, I don't know about that. They've been struggling a little bit this year. But Steve, do you like the Cyclones at home?
Yeah, I do like the Cyclones at home. I think Oklahoma State they've played pretty well, but it's more of a 6-0 by default with their ranking. I think Iowa State might be the better team, but they just dropped a game to Iowa, and I think was it Texas maybe that got them.
Yeah.
And coming off of that, I think they're going to be able to come out against Oklahoma State and control things. And their defense is perfect for a spread offense, which Oklahoma State runs.
Yeah, I don't know. Oklahoma State has actually just impressed me. I don't know why. They've had a good season so far. I know Iowa State's better than their record here, I think. But I like Oklahoma State in this one. I think they're going to cover that.
I think Matt Campbell's done a tremendous job at Iowa State, so don't get that twisted. I think scheme-wise, I love what they do defensively with the three deep safeties and the tight front that forces that allows linebackers to scrape and play the edge. But for some reason, there's been just something in the water there in Ames that have caused Iowa State to kind of sputter a little bit and kind of struggle at times and be a very inconsistent ball club. Like right now, they're playing like the Iowa State prior to Brock Purdy, prior to that whole resurgence or renaissance or whatever you want to call it. They're kind of playing back to where they were 3 years ago, which was mediocre. And not a good recipe against a team that's hot right now in Oklahoma State. So I'm going to take the Cowboys here.
Okay.
Speaking of a team that's hot, I say that very sarcastically on one end and say that very quite literally on the other. Pitt, who is red hot. Kenny Pickett has gotten himself into the Heisman conversation. They are 3-point home favorites. Never thought I'd say that. Against Clemson, who is broken. They miss ETN. DJ Ungulale is he is not the big-time quarterback that everybody thought he was. He does not have that it factor. And I've got theories on that, but I'm not going to use this segment to disclose all of those theories. But something about never facing true adversity for him has really kind of hindered his development. He's getting plenty of that this year. He is struggling. So Clemson is 3-point dogs. Steve, what do you say?
Yeah, I like Pittsburgh in this game. I want to see Kenny Pickett comes out. I think they can score more than Clemson can score, and that feels weird to talk about Clemson, but I just don't think Clemson can put up enough points to match Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's averaging somewhere in the mid-40s right now. So they're offensively, they're pretty good. So I just like Pittsburgh in this game. And if Pittsburgh wins this game, the inside track for the Coastal Championship or Atlantic, whichever one they're in, is theirs for the taking.
They're in the leaders division, and I think Wake Forest is and Clemson are in the Legends division.
That's Big Ten from like 10 years ago.
I know. I just love doing. It's the most ridiculous division names. I'm going to take Clemson here. Um, I think Clemson's defense. I think if they turn this into a slugfest, they can keep it close and win. But they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to get a few knockdowns. They're gonna have to be extremely disruptive, take the ball away more than usual. But I don't think DJ Ongulele is going to score a lot of points against Pitt. But I don't think he's going to have to. I think this is going to be a classic slugfest. Jeb, did you make your pick?
I did not, and I pretty much agree with Steve, even though everything he said sounds like it should be wrong. I just Pittsburgh has been one of the more impressive teams to me this season, so I like them in a close game against Clemson, who's probably the most disappointing team of the season so far.
You know what's crazy is the narrative coming into the season for Pitt was they're all defense, no offense.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's not true anymore.
Not at all.
Speaking of really good offenses, Oregon is traveling to LA, traveling to Westwood to take on the Bruins of UCLA. It's basically a pick 'em. UCLA is favored by 2, probably just because they're the home team. Zach Charbonnet is really, really, really impressing people as a running back. They have a really good 1-2 punch there for Chip Kelly and the Bruins. I think they're starting to kind of get back to form a little bit. Steve, how do you see this one?
Uh, it's one of those games that, by the way, Appalachian State just beat Coastal 30-27 on a last-second field goal.
Nice.
Nice. But it's one of those games that I just am looking forward to because UCLA, they're a good team. I mean, they stumbled a couple of times this season, but they're a team that can match up against an Oregon team that has not looked like themselves. They barely got past Cal last week. So I'm going to take UCLA to cover in this game.
Jeb?
How do we have 2 games, Oklahoma State and Iowa and Oregon and UCLA, where one team is highly ranked facing an unranked team and they're underdogs in the game? That just doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really looked at UCLA much since they beat LSU. And Oregon, though, I thought has been playing really well this season. So, I mean, they're number 8 in the nation for a reason. So, I'm taking Oregon to win that game. But it surprises me that UCLA is the
Yeah, top 10 underdogs.
team.
How often did that happen against unranked teams?
And it's happened
bizarre.
twice now this season. That's weird.
Yeah.
And this week.
Yeah.
Because I guess they see that Oregon struggles on the road and UCLA is a really good home team. So I guess they took that into account when everything else is even, I guess, is the only explanation. But I'm going to take UCLA here. I think the run game and what Chip Kelly's doing is going to win out here. Charbonnet's going to have a huge game. DTR is going to have a huge game. I really like what UCLA does, and I really like what Oregon does. This is going to be a very entertaining game, and there's a reason why this is basically just an even spread. But I'm going to take UCLA here simply because they have home field advantage, simply because I think Charbonnet is back on track. Our next game, I paused like I was ready for you to read the next game. USC, them Trojans, who are not hiring Dan Mullen, travel to Notre Dame to take on Touchdown Jesus, who are 7-point favorites at home. Steve.
Got to go with the Fighting Irish on this one. Interim coach at USC, at Notre Dame. Everything's in position. Notre Dame's only a 7-point favorite, but I think Brian Kelly's going to have them ready to go.
Yeah, this is another one where I think I'm surprised the spread's as low as it is, but at least this time they're favoring the better team. I think Notre Dame's definitely going to cover in this one. USC's just a mess right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think USC's just they're down. They're in disarray. It's just bad. It went from bad to worse, which is expected, but I don't know how that's going to affect recruiting. But an ass kicking at the hands of Notre Dame is not going to help, and I think this has a potential of that. Unfortunately, for that scenario, I don't think Notre Dame has the ability to blow out anybody, but I do think they win. I do think they cover. Our last game, the Black Knights of West Point host Wake Forest. Army is 3-point favorites over division leader Demon Deacons. Wake Forest is explosive offensively, but Army can take a game and make it. They can play a 60-minute game in 45 minutes, and they can chew you up and spit you out every different possible way in the run game and the triple option game. Steve, how do you see it?
Yeah, it's one of those games. I'm not really going to say that Wake Forest are pretenders or anything like that, but this is the game that I'm going to take Army because I think the slowdown is going to have an impact on this game, and in doing so, it's going to affect the way that Wake Forest operates. And I think Army -3, and I'm not just saying that because we have a loyal Army fan watching the show.
Jib?
I'm gonna change my mind here. So this is the third game where a ranked team's the underdogs to a unranked team, basically off home field advantage. I don't know. I love the way Army plays, and I really thought if this spread had been maybe 10 or 12 on Wake Forest's side, I probably would have taken Army to cover, just because of the way they can grind down teams. But with it being Army actually favored, I think I'm taking Wake Forest.
Yeah, this is. Part of me feels like this is easy money. I just don't think Army's gonna be able to keep up with Wake Forest. Wake Forest is explosive. They can turn games into a track meet in a hurry, and I think that's the recipe here for not only a win but a cover and a blowout and all whatever you want. I think Wake Forest, and I'm almost willing to say Wake Forest big.
Okay.
Army's not built to come back, that's for sure. So.
No, Wake Forest can jump on you fast, and I think they will. So. But that's going to do it for our picks, guys. This is a fun. This is a fun slate of games to pick. Yeah. So with Jake not being here, we can pick on him. LOL. He doesn't like clowns. Yeah. College game day will be at UCLA. That's cool. So yeah. Well, that's going to do it for us. We're going to wrap. If you want to follow us on social media, just take a look right down below. It's scrolling. It's cycling through. Tweets After Dark, that's been a pretty cool feature there. Our chat has been on fire. San Diego State versus Air Force, that's going to be a fun game. I picked the Aztecs on the illegal motion. I'm going to stick with that one. But subscribe on YouTube, hit that bell. If you haven't found out already, we are echoing across a lot of different channels. So check us out basically anywhere on the internet. Is really kind of the point of this. So I love what we're doing here, Steve, and I think we're going to get millions and millions and millions and millions of viewers. All right. Pretty soon, Positively Ole Miss is going to be its own brand. Screw Colin Cowherd. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to be our own entity. We're going to be millionaires. We're going to be able to buy our own studio and be able to just fly our PJs together to meet in person and have a nice set with all our knickknacks.
Yeah.
With Jeb's French's mustard bottle and Titleist golf balls and whatever else, and Steve can have his
range balls. Range balls. Has to be range balls.
Yeah, right there you go. You can't waste a good Titleist. But anyway, that's gonna do it for us, man. We hope you enjoyed our show. However you found us, however you're listening to us, we appreciate it. This is gonna be on the Beast of the East podcast channel as well. I'm gonna put the audio form there for you as a little bonus feature. But we hope you enjoyed it. Again, thank you for checking us out. We hope you continue. Tell a friend or two, and have them tell a friend or two. Get on the chat. Interact with us. We're looking to be the most interactive SEC show on the market, and we're aiming for that, and we're starting to get there. So we thank you for joining in on the chat too. So we are SEC After Dark on Willis Digital Media, home of the podcast. For Jeb and Steve, I'm Corey Burton. Remember to subscribe, hit that bell, follow us on social media, and we will see you next time. We hope you have a great week and an even better weekend. And we'll see you back here next week. It's SEC After Dark.